Let's step through a simplified security assertion markup language or SAML-based claims authentication process for SharePoint 2013. SAML-based claims authentication is an interaction between a client computer, a SharePoint server, an identity federation server, such as Active Directory Federation Services or ADFS, and an identity provider, which contains the actual account's passwords and account attributes, such as Active Directory Domain Services or ADDS. Please note that this process example is deliberately simplified. ADFS and SAML claims are not required if you are using an ADDS infrastructure in which the forests and domains trust each other. Before we step through the authentication process, let's examine the set of trust relationships that must be in place. First, the federation server, the ADFS server, must trust the identity provider for which it is issuing SAML security tokens. In this case, the trust is implicit because the ADFS server is a member of the ADDS domain and therefore trusts the validation of security credentials by its domain controllers. ADFS must also trust security token requests for locations on the SharePoint server. For this trust relationship, you configure ADDS with the URLs of SharePoint web applications as relying parties. Web pages within those URLs will now be trusted for SAML security token requests. The SharePoint server must also trust the ADFS server. The ADFS server uses a signing certificate to sign the SAML security tokens that it issues. To validate the digital signature on the security tokens issued by ADFS, you configure the SharePoint farm with the public portion of that signing certificate. Now let's take a look at the authentication process. Assuming that the client computer does not already have a claims-based security token, SAML-based claims authentication occurs when it makes an initial anonymous request of a secured SharePoint web page. The SharePoint server redirects the client computer to the ADFS server to obtain a SAML-based login page for user credentials. The user types credentials and the client computer sends them to the ADFS server with a request for a SAML security token. The ADFS server validates the sent credentials with the identity provider, which in this case is an ADDS domain controller. The ADFS server constructs a SAML security token, signs it, and then sends it to the client computer. The client computer sends a new request for the web page. This time it includes the SAML security token that it received from the ADFS server. The security token service on the SharePoint server then creates a claims-based security token and stores it with the distributed cache service on the SharePoint farm. Claims in the security token are based on the claims in the SAML security token from the ADFS server. The SharePoint server then creates and sends a federated authentication or FedAuth cookie to the client computer. This cookie contains an encrypted key or index to the security token. If the user is authorized to access the requested web page, through analysis of the claims in the security token and the configured permissions, the SharePoint server then sends the contents of the page. For subsequent requests, the client computer uses the FedAuth cookie for authentication. For additional information about claims authentication, go to the SharePoint 2013 Claims Authentication portal at aka.ms/spclm. Also visit technet.com/SharePoint.